My name is David Walker. I'm 37 years old and I've spent the last decade working as a construction manager in Texas. Life for me was simple. Steady job, a loving wife, and a future that looked bright. But none of that prepared me for the hardest battle I ever faced. And no, it wasn't on a construction site or any kind of work accident. It happened in a hospital bed when I woke up from a coma. I was in a serious car accident. They told me I'd be out for months, maybe even years. During that time, I had no idea what was happening around me. I had no control. But the worst part came the moment I opened my eyes again. I thought my wife, Emily, would be there waiting for me. I pictured her holding my hand, telling me everything was going to be okay. But the truth was far from that. When I finally came to, the first thing I heard wasn't her voice. Instead, I overheard a conversation that shattered me. She wasn't just gone. She was with someone else. Someone I never expected. I remember the exact moment I realized something was terribly wrong. It was late one night, days after I woke up. I caught her phone lighting up with messages from a name I didn't recognize. I asked her about it, but she brushed it off with a nervous smile. Something in my gut told me this wasn't just a simple mistake. My own wife, who I trusted with my life, was hiding a secret. And then came the blow I never saw coming. I found out Emily had been cheating on me the entire time I was unconscious. While I was fighting for my life, she was betraying me. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part was learning that she didn't just move on with anyone else. She moved on with my own sister-in-law, my wife's younger sister, Jessica. I sat there in my hospital bed, numb, the pieces of my life crumbling all around me. I thought I had lost everything. The love I believed in, the future I planned for. But deep inside, something shifted. I didn't break. I didn't cry. Instead, I began to plan. This wasn't just a story about betrayal. It was going to be a story about justice, about reclaiming my life on my terms. What happened next? Well, it's something you won't believe. So stay with me, because this is not just a story I'm telling you. This is the truth, the real story of how I survived betrayal and turned it into the most unexpected revenge. Before the accident, life felt perfect. At least that's what I thought. Emily and I met in college. She was studying nursing, and I was just starting my career in construction. From the moment I saw her, I felt like I'd found my home. She was kind, funny, and fiercely loyal, or so I believed. We got married when I was 26, and for years everything seemed normal. We built a small house, had our routines, shared dreams. I worked long hours to make sure we were secure, and Emily was always there supporting me. She used to call me her hero. I wasn't perfect, but I tried. I made mistakes, sure, but I thought we were a team. We talked about having kids someday. We planned vacations, dinners with friends, quiet weekends just watching movies on the couch. Life was simple but good. I trusted her completely. There were some red flags, but they were easy to ignore. Little things that didn't seem important at the time. Like the times she'd stay late at work, helping patients. Or the odd texts she would quickly hide when I walked into the room. I remember one time she said she was meeting a friend for coffee, but came back 2 hours later smelling like perfume. Not mine. I brushed it off, telling myself I was being paranoid. I wanted to believe in us. But behind my back, things were falling apart. I had no idea the foundation I was standing on was cracked. The accident changed everything. I was driving home late one night after a long shift, exhausted but eager to see Emily. I never made it. A speeding truck hit me head on. The doctors said it was a miracle I survived, but the months that followed were even harder. While I was unconscious in that hospital bed, life moved on without me. And when I woke up, I realized I had been left behind. Emily's warm smile was gone. The calls stopped. Visits grew fewer and shorter. She seemed distant, like a stranger in my own home. I tried to hold on to hope, but something felt off. I remember the nights I'd hear her whispering on the phone, the way she'd avoid my gaze. She was hiding something, and I was trapped in my own body, powerless to stop it. Then one night, I found messages on her phone that broke my heart. Flirty texts, secret plans, promises to meet. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Maybe she was stressed, confused. But then I saw the truth. Emily wasn't just cheating. She was living a double life. And the person she was with was closer than I ever imagined. My own sister-in-law, Jessica. It felt like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I wanted to scream, to fight, to run away. But I couldn't. I was weak, broken, trapped. Yet even in that darkness, a fire started to burn inside me. I realized I had a choice, to drown in the pain or to fight back. That's when the real story began. After I discovered the messages between Emily and Jessica, I didn't confront them right away. I couldn't. The shock left me frozen, as if my mind was trying to protect me from a pain too sharp to face all at once. Instead, I stayed silent. I watched. I watched how Emily's behavior changed. The late-night phone calls became more frequent, her smiles more forced. She stopped sharing the small details of her day, the jokes, the frustrations, the dreams we once talked about. Her phone was always on silent. Whenever it buzzed, she'd quickly hide it or step away. I tried to respect her space, but every little secret felt like a knife twisting deeper inside me. Jessica acted like nothing was wrong. She'd visit occasionally, laughing and chatting with Emily as if nothing had changed. But every glance she threw my way was cold, distant, filled with a secret I wasn't yet ready to uncover. I noticed the small things, the way they'd exchange knowing looks, the hushed whispers behind closed doors. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I knew I was living in a house filled with lies. Money started disappearing from our accounts. Bills were going unpaid. When I asked, Emily said it was just stress from work, that things would get better, but they never did. The tension in our home grew thicker every day. I felt like a ghost, watching from the sidelines as the life I once knew slipped away. Friends started noticing too. They'd ask if everything was okay, if I needed help. But how do you explain that your own wife and sister-in-law are betraying you in ways you never imagined? I became quiet, withdrawn. I stopped talking about my dreams, my fears. I pretended everything was fine, but inside, I was crumbling. One night, I couldn't sleep. I heard Emily's phone buzz at 2:07 a.m., the screen lighting up in the dark like a signal I wasn't supposed to see. Curiosity overwhelmed me. I grabbed her phone when she wasn't looking, scrolling through the messages. The texts weren't just flirty anymore. They were full of plans, secret meetings, and words I never expected to read. "She misses me," one read. "I can't wait to see you," said another. My heart shattered piece by piece. But this time, I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I stayed silent. Because now I knew. I wasn't just a victim. I was a man with a mission. I started gathering evidence. Texts, photos, receipts. I recorded conversations when I could. I contacted a lawyer quietly, planning every move like a chess game. Emily and Jessica thought they had won. They thought I'd be too broken to fight back. But they forgot one thing. I'm a fighter. I've faced battles before, and this was just another war, one I was determined to win. There's a moment in every betrayal when everything suddenly becomes real, when denial ends, and the truth hits you like a freight train. For me, that moment came on a rainy Thursday night. I was sitting alone in the living room, staring at the cold glow of the TV, but my mind was elsewhere. The house was quiet except for the soft ticking of the clock. Emily had gone out, or so she said, and Jessica wasn't home. I decided to check the files on my laptop again, the ones I'd quietly saved over the past few weeks. Texts, photos, voicemails. I wasn't just collecting evidence anymore. I was searching for a sign, something undeniable. And then I found it, a voice note Emily had sent to Jessica. I wasn't supposed to hear it, but it was there, saved on the phone she'd forgotten to clear. Her voice was soft, almost tender. "I don't care anymore," she whispered. "He's a fool if he thinks I still love him. We have a new plan, and this time, nothing can stop us." That line, it shattered me. I sat there in silence, the weight of her words sinking in deeper than I ever imagined possible. I wanted to scream, to confront, to collapse. But I did none of those things. Instead, I let the silence fill the room. Because that was the moment everything changed. That was the moment I realized I needed to stop being a victim and start fighting back. I wasn't just hurt, I was betrayed by the person I trusted most in this world. But I refused to let this break me. I wiped my eyes, took a deep breath, and made a decision. I wouldn't react out of anger or pain. I would be calm, calculated. I started planning my next steps, how to gather the final proof, how to protect what was left of my dignity, and how to expose the truth. That night, the man they thought they knew disappeared. In his place stood someone ready for war, a man who had nothing left to lose except his pride. And I was going to make sure they regretted ever crossing me. After that night, everything inside me shifted. I realized that raw emotion wouldn't win this battle. Anger and desperation only make you reckless. And that's exactly what I couldn't afford. I needed a plan, a quiet, calculated strategy that would turn the tables without anyone suspecting a thing. I started by locking down every part of my life, my phone, my emails, everything. I changed passwords, created backups, and began collecting every piece of evidence I could find. The texts, voice notes, bank statements, anything that could prove what was really happening behind my back. I didn't confront Emily. I didn't say a word to her. I played the part of the calm husband, the man who was too busy with work, while secretly watching, waiting, and building my case. I hired a private investigator, someone discreet and professional, to follow her movements, track her calls, and document anything suspicious. The evidence started pouring in. Meetings with people I didn't know, secret phone calls at odd hours, financial transactions that made no sense. At the same time, I consulted a lawyer, someone I could trust to help me understand my rights and what legal steps I could take. The lawyer advised me on protecting my assets and gathering evidence that would hold up in court. It was a slow, meticulous process, but every day I felt a little stronger. What surprised me most was how confident I became. The more I learned, the more I saw that I wasn't powerless. I wasn't just a victim. I was a man who could fight, not with fists or yelling, but with cold, hard facts. And Emily, she had no idea what was coming. She thought I was broken, silent, defeated, but she forgot one thing. I'm trained to win wars without raising my voice. I kept my friends close but didn't share details. I couldn't risk anyone slipping up or tipping her off. This was my battle, and I had to see it through alone. Every night I reviewed the evidence. Every day I prepared myself mentally for the confrontation ahead. I rehearsed what I would say in court, imagined how I would stand tall when the truth finally came out. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about justice, about reclaiming my life and my dignity. I wasn't the man who had been blindsided. I was the man who was going to take control. And when the time came, there would be no mistakes, no regrets, just the cold, clear truth, laid bare for everyone to see. The day finally arrived, the moment I had been preparing for in silence, with careful calculation. It wasn't a day for loud confrontations or dramatic outbursts. No, this was the day the truth would speak for itself. Everything was set. The lawyer had all the evidence ready, the recordings, the documents, the undeniable proof that Emily had been hiding more than just secrets. I walked into that courtroom with a calm I didn't know I had. My heart was steady, my mind sharp. This wasn't about anger anymore. It was about justice. Emily sat across from me, confident and composed, but I could see the cracks, the slight tremble in her hands, the flicker of doubt in her eyes. She had underestimated me. She thought I would crumble, but I was a different man now. The courtroom was packed. Friends, family, strangers. Everyone was waiting for the truth to come out. The judge called the session to order, and the lawyer began presenting the evidence, piece by piece. When it was my turn to speak, I didn't yell or plead. I simply played the audio file, the one that captured everything. Her voice clear as day, exposing the lies and betrayals that had shattered my life. The room went silent. No gasps, no whispers, just silence. Everyone heard it. Everyone saw the reality I had lived through. The hidden phone calls, the secret meetings, the financial deceit. Emily's confident mask shattered right there. She looked at me, not with hate, but with something close to regret. But it was too late. The judge reviewed the evidence carefully, then made the ruling that felt like a victory. Not just for me, but for anyone who's ever been betrayed and silenced. It wasn't about revenge, it was about truth. Outside the courtroom, the weight that had been crushing me for months finally lifted. People approached me quietly, offering support and apologies for doubting me. I didn't need their pity. I only wanted the truth to be known. That day, I didn't just win a legal battle. I reclaimed my life. And as I walked out of that courtroom, I knew one thing for certain. I was no longer a victim. I was a survivor. Months have passed since the courtroom battle ended. Time, they say, heals all wounds. And in my case, it's true. But it wasn't just time. It was the decision to move forward, to rebuild myself from the pieces left behind. I left behind the anger, the pain, and the bitterness. I focused on what truly mattered: peace and self-respect. Living in a smaller apartment now, away from the memories of the old house, I found calm in the simple things. Early morning runs, quiet evenings with a book, conversations with friends who truly cared. What I lost was painful, no doubt, not just a home or a relationship, but trust, something that takes years to build and seconds to break. But what I gained was even greater: strength, clarity, and a new sense of purpose. I learned that life doesn't always give you closure the way you expect. Sometimes you have to create it yourself. Revenge was never my goal. The victory in court wasn't about hurting someone else. It was about setting myself free. I realized that the most important battle I had ever fought was not against my wife, but within myself, between despair and hope, between giving up and standing tall. If there's one thing I want you to take from my story, it's this: no matter how deep the betrayal, no matter how dark the moment feels, you have the power to rise again. You can choose to rebuild. You can choose to reclaim your life. This is my truth, my battle scar, and my victory. Thank you for listening. If my story resonated with you, please consider subscribing and sharing, because sometimes the strongest voices are the ones we hear when someone says, "This happened to me."